We live in a moment where everyone speaks the language of psychology. Listen to an argument at the next table over, and you will hear people casually diagnosing their partners as narcissists, calling dynamics toxic, and identifying as anxious attached. These clinical terms are useful in a therapist's office, but in everyday life, they become a trap. People weaponize this vocabulary to dodge hard conversations, using therapy speak to dress up harmful behavior. A person might blow up their partner's phone, track their location, and demand constant proof of loyalty, all while claiming they have anxious attachment. Another person might shut down an argument, sleep in another room, and subject their partner to a 3-day silent treatment, defending it as a need for avoidance space. This distortion peaks with the phrase reactive abuse. Imagine someone who is lied to, provoked, and emotionally starved for months. When they finally hit a breaking point and snap, handing them the label of reactive abuser leaves them disoriented, wondering if they were the primary villain all along. We have confused attachment styles with abuse. To find the truth in a relationship, we have to look past the psychological labels and examine the one thing that actually matters: power. Attachment is a learned survival pattern in your nervous system that activates when you feel emotionally threatened. This animation shows the basic directions those survival patterns take. When threatened, a person might move toward others harder, which we call anxious. They might retreat and move away harder, which is avoidant, or fall into a chaotic push-pull loop, known as fearful avoidant. This line represents a hard boundary. An anxious or avoidant pattern explains why a person panics. It does not excuse abuse. Abuse is a pattern that relies on fear, coercion, punishment, and isolation to gain and maintain power over another person. Feeling scared and asking a partner for reassurance is an attachment trigger. Demanding complete access to their phone, monitoring their location, and threatening to leave if they ask for privacy is control. A triggered nervous system definitely deserves our compassion, but pain is never a license to exert unilateral power over someone else. The scenario changes when the manipulation becomes long-term. Consider a person who is repeatedly gaslit, emotionally cornered, and told their memory is wrong, day after day. Look at this pressure gauge. Chronic manipulation overloads the nervous system. The body stops processing logic and drops into pure survival mode: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Eventually, the victim snaps. They yell, curse, or throw something against the wall. That explosive reaction is harmful. It crosses a line and requires accountability. But an isolated reactive moment under severe distress is distinctly different from an ongoing pattern of coercive control. Reacting badly while being abused does not make you the primary abuser. You do not have to be a perfect victim to deserve safety. If you are evaluating a confusing dynamic, you have to look past who yelled the loudest in the last argument. Instead, track the timeline and the underlying power structure. Ask the questions that expose the reality of the room. Who had more power? Who was afraid to disagree? Who had to walk on eggshells to prevent the next explosion? The answers to those questions separate a mutual dysfunctional loop, like two people triggering each other's anxiety and avoidance, from a dynamic of unilateral abuse. Appearances are deceptive. A person with a calm voice can be cruel and controlling, while a loud, dysregulated person can simply be terrified. True clarity comes from identifying who in the relationship held the safety to say no. When you've been told your reaction is the real problem, it is easy to get stuck in a cycle of shame. Breaking that cycle requires moving from diagnosis to a specific kind of accountability. This involves physically sorting the burden. You divide exactly what actions belong to you and what actions belong entirely to the other person. You own your specific reactive outbursts. You own the self-abandonment that led you to stay in a survival state until you snapped. And you commit to changing those behaviors to maintain your own self-respect. You own your blocks on the left, but you refuse to carry the weight on the right: their manipulation, their intimidation, and their threats. You give that back. Clarity about your attachment style provides the leverage to recognize a pattern and leave it sooner. The goal is a relationship where you no longer have to survive emotional whiplash just to access respect.